Welcome back for our second segment of this week's episode of Inside the Glass, brought to you by Quaker Steak Lube.
Looking for a great hangout spot? Stop by Quaker Steak Lube during happy hour for great drink specials and half-off appetizers, Monday through Friday, 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. And on game days, gather your team and head over to the Lube, where the action is always on and we're serving up Best Wings USA, half-pound steak burgers, and much more. Quaker Steak Lube. Heck yeah, we're open.
And we're back, and we are joined, as we are in every show, by Phantoms head coach Brad Patterson. Brad, how are you doing today?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Well, we just wrapped up practice here on a Wednesday afternoon. Give us your final thoughts on the Lincoln series from this past weekend.
Well, you look back Monday or Friday night, I thought the first 20 minutes, although I think we come out down 1-0, I thought we had plenty of opportunities and probably should have been up by a few in that period. Need to bear down in that area. And then second period, I liked our second period, even it up. And then in the third, a bad break. And then 30 seconds after that, have a breakdown puts us down. And, a little bit tight squeezing the sticks and pucks aren't going in the easy way for us. And weren't able to get back and pull out 2 points there. And then following night, I thought it was very intense. I thought it was hard fought both ways, and I thought there was a lot of resiliency. Every time there's an emotional game or something that really drains you, the guys always have a good bounce back, and I thought they did on Saturday night.
Sean and I are going to talk about the playoff picture a little later in the show. That is what it is. We can only control what the Phantoms are going to do out on the ice. But break down the Green Bay-Bloomington game for us for tomorrow night. Give us one or two reasons why each team might come away with a win there.
Well, first you start with Bloomington. I think they're a team that I feel got a lot better at the trade deadline. I think a lot of people looked at it as, they were selling some pieces, maybe looking to the future. And when I look at it, the couple guys that they brought in, I think make their team better. And I think they've had some good results here since that deadline. They're a hard-working club, have been getting good goaltending. So it's going to be a hard-fought game. And then you look at Green Bay the other way. Since I believe the Friday night that we beat them here at home, they haven't lost a game. They're a high offensive octane team and had two big additions. Not at the trade. Well, they had a couple additions at the trade deadline, but they had another deadline where they added some Minnesota high school players. That one's going to be potentially a top 10 pick in the NHL draft, and haven't dropped points since. I believe they've won every game since they were here in Youngstown. So, but that being said, it's going to be a tough game, as any game in the league is, and I know Bloomington, they've been out for a little bit, but they've had some good results, and they continue to play hard. I've seen them on video a couple times, so we're doing pre-scout on some other teams, and I expect it to be a hard-fought game.
And Logan Halliday is a very good goaltender for Bloomington too, isn't he? He is.
It's been unique. He was in Bloomington for a long stretch. We saw him a couple times this year, and then there was a trade or a pickup. Tri-Cities added him. He was there for a little bit and then actually went back to Bloomington, which you don't see a whole lot, but shows you that obviously they have some confidence in him, bringing him back to an organization. And we've seen him in years past, and he's had some stellar games, and there's no doubt that he could win a game.
Well, we had the end to March Madness in the basketball realm, but the Frozen Four starts tomorrow with Harvard taking on Minnesota Duluth and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish taking on the University of Denver. Who do you got?
Well, I'd like to see Harvard win. Obviously, the connection to a good friend and former staff mate of mine, Rob Rassi. That we always talk about the family, the Phantom family. Well, we keep in touch a lot, and they've done great things at that program. I'd love to see Rask advance. And then I'm not too sure on the other side.
We won't tell Cam and Kevin, we promise.
No, it's definitely tough. Connections to both of those programs, and both of them have tremendous upside. I'd love to see Cam get it. I think that's you go back to the Phantom family first, and it's tough to pick, say, hey, Kev or Cam. But both, as you just talked about, the Bloomington Green Bay series, our game here tomorrow night. I see a lot of differences in the two styles between Notre Dame and Denver, and both are very successful. So I think it's going to be a great matchup.
Come on, Brad. Putting you on the spot. Give us a name.
I'm gonna say Notre Dame with an upset.
All right. So then Harvard and Notre Dame in the championship game, and you're taking the Crimson.
I don't know. I'll tell you when we get to the final game.
All right, Brad. Well, we've got the U17s coming in this weekend. We've seen them obviously a few times this year. Obviously, just a team that's gotten so much better since we saw them in the first 3 weeks of the season, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. They're and you know that going in. You don't even have to know who their players are or anything like that. We've talked about it on the show before. You have young players in this league, and they kind of have that bigger up curve, if you will, in development over the course of the year. Not to say that older guys don't develop, but I think you put some younger skill guys that are supposed to be at the top of the heap for their birth class when they're put in an environment like this, definitely have a big upswing over the course of the year. And, our guys need to be ready for the challenge you alluded to before. Like we have to come up and do the job here. And the guys have had a great week of practice here. The focus is on our game and how we'll be on Friday night. And we know USA, the club coming in, they're dangerous at any point in time. You give them a little bit too much time and space, and they're dangerous offensively and in transition. And there's a couple guys that we really need to key in on. So, we need to make sure we're ready Friday night.
All right, Brad, thank you so much for joining us here on this week's show. Thank you to Quaker Steak Lube for sponsoring this segment. And no alumni report this week because there were no college games, no visiting broadcaster this week because I think we've talked Pete Krupski to death. So we are going to be back for the USHL Players of the Week and the standings and a look at that playoff picture as I promised in the next segment.